see your red couch.
And your lipstick matches the color of the couch.
Mm,
I'm sure you
thank
planned
you.
that.
Indeed.
We are in very different temperature zones at the moment. Here
Mm,
it's very
indeed.
Christmassy already in Zurich, Switzerland, and you are in Doha.
That's correct. That's correct.
And we only met last few weeks ago through a common connection, right? We were introduced to each other. So, do you want to tell our viewership a fun fact about yourself?
I would love to. One of the fun facts I like to tell people is how I had this goal of um, visiting 40 countries by age 40, which may sound a little bit easy for people in Europe where the countries are so close together. But that was my goal. It was funny, I was at about age 36 or 37, and I had three countries left. So 37 countries. And I thought, oh, this is so doable. But then COVID hit,
Mm.
and so many countries shut down, and there was travel that was not allowed. And then after COVID, well, not after, like a year after COVID began, I got pregnant with twins. And
Oh
so
my
then
God.
I couldn't travel because of that. So my very doable goal uh, got very complicated very quickly. So I changed the goal to be 40 in 40, giving myself my whole 40th year to do it. And I did end up doing it. Um, and I mentioned that fun fact for two reasons. One, um, I think it's really important to be adaptable and flexible and to, you have realities, you have your goals, but you also have to, be flexible in how you go about achieving them. And so that's one reason. The other reason is just that, yeah, it highlights my enthusiasm for travel and international living. And now I have a new goal for 50. But yeah, that's a fun fact about me.
50 countries by 50? Or 100
No,
countries?
no, no. Well, I think my children, much as I love them, do slow me down in terms of bouncing around. But no, I just actually haven't traveled that much domestically in my own country, and so there are some states that I want to go to by age
Ah,
50.
ah.
Um, some of the more harder ones to get to, like Alaska and Hawaii, that I've not been to.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
And Grace, we are in a similar area, similar business. So why don't you tell us about your purpose and why you do what you do?
Yeah, great question. Well, a lot of it, I have to say, and maybe you can relate, is the phrase necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Hmm.
When we move around a lot, whether for our partners or for ourselves, you just have to get creative sometimes. The basic, rules that you're used to in maybe your home country don't apply, and you adapt again. So for me, I am in the position that I am right now based on the fact that I have chosen a lifestyle to jump around a lot and follow my spouse's career or my career wherever it has taken us, which has not been like a very linear pathway or a standard pathway. So I find my purpose in this is to serve and be creative how I do it and to be flexible. Um, and in that, I think it looks different for me depending on the country that I'm in. And I can say more about that, but I'll leave it there.
So when you say that, it sounds as if it was a journey already. And I assume you didn't only get to 40 countries by traveling. As a good expat, can you tell us about your journey, how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, I think I've always enjoyed international travel. I'll say I first went abroad when I was 14. I traveled in England and then I traveled in 18 all over Italy. And then I had this experience in college that um, was super interesting to me and it stayed with me. I was on a bus with a group of a bunch of international students. We were studying abroad in Vienna and we wanted to go to Berlin. And we got on a bus, a bunch of us, and we were traveling through the land border to the Czech Republic to go like kind of straight up. There were different passports holders in the bus,
Yeah.
and so I'm traveling through, and some people were allowed in, and some people weren't based on their passport. And that experience stayed with me, and it made me interested in international law and in immigration. And what is the geopolitical reasoning for some students being allowed in and others not? And so fast forward, I ended up going to law school and specializing in immigration after law school. And after law school, I got some immigration and attorney related positions in Washington, D.C. and in California. And then more international. From there, we moved from Nairobi to Nairobi to Mexico City and to now here in Doha. So yeah.
Wow. Did you, so I assume afterwards you were not allowed, and it was probably also competence-wise not possible to work as an immigration lawyer in those countries. Uh, do you right
Yes.
now use your immigration skill set in any way, or have you completely pivoted?
Yeah, that's a great question because it is really complex, in terms of especially licensing. I'm
Hmm.
licensed in the US. And of course, my clientele is international if they were from the US. So it's like professional liability coverage can be difficult because your practice or your work isn't necessarily in the US. Your licensing is not. I think it's challenging for a lot of law firms to work with people who don't have those in place because it can be hard to provide their insurance coverage and licensing requirements. So it's adaptable and flexible to start your own business. Another thing that contributes to that is depending on where you are in those cities and countries, the local labor laws and the government having work agreements with your country about who can work there, how long your residency is.
Hmm.
So speaking of just here in Doha, um, it can take a year almost to even get the right paperwork to work locally. And then if your tour is only maybe 2 years long, your position or your spouse's position, you know, you're looking at a year of employment at best, and it makes more sense to go freelance or to run your own business. And so that's what I've done. I think it's been more adaptable in dealing with the needs and the realities that I'm dealing with of bouncing around.
And in your freelance work, what exactly do you do? Can you tell us a bit
Yeah,
more about that?
yeah, I'd love to tell you. So I do immigration consulting and U.S. immigration filings for people who need it, whether that be employment based, family based, humanitarian based. A lot of times clients just come to me wanting to brainstorm. They have some ideas or they've heard some things, but they want to check with a practitioner to see if they're on the right track.
Hmm.
Some people, example, churches have contacted me wondering, like, okay, how does this work if we wanted to hire a foreign worker? Um, so things like that. And then on the side of that, which helps me with I think, my immigration consulting work, is that I'm an organizational leadership and well-being coach. And
Hmm.
so I bring a holistic viewpoint to it. When people are relocating, I can provide them that extra personal layer and I know you are in this business as well, so I'd love to hear from you about it as well. But immigration isn't just the paperwork. It's also the relocation and how families are doing, spouses are doing, finances. And because I've done it personally, I can also come at it from that angle. So not just as the technical immigration expertise, the professional coaching expertise, and then the personal having done it myself. So I think I can really provide a holistic package for clients.
Fantastic. Do you
Yeah.
work Also with private clients?
I work with private clients and I work with entities. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. And Grace, if you went back in time
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
you met a younger version of yourself, what
Yes.
kind of advice would you give that younger version of yourself?
Oh, oh. I think I would have liked to tell my younger self to be a bit more intentional about the route that I chose. I
Okay.
think a lot of times the choices that I made were sort of defaults because I didn't know what to decide, or I didn't have all the information, or maybe I was going after a particular thing, chasing, for example, money versus fulfillment. And I think I would just go back and be a little bit more intentional, not just take the first offer or not just, pay attention to the thing that looks shiny, but to pick a route that I think would really suit me and think about that in the long term context is the
Oh,
advice I
that's
would give given
beautiful.
myself.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, when we're younger, I would say we make
Mhm.
decisions not always based on like long-term thoughts.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's necessity.
Hmm.
Sometimes, picking the first job that you get offered is also because, you want to earn an
Need it.
income.
Hmm.
I honestly think that like in midlife, we have a bit more choice to say, okay, maybe now, I want to work a bit more on my purpose, or maybe be a bit more intentional about how I spend my time strategically. And I
Hmm.
mean strategically as in, like for my purpose.
Hmm.
Not necessarily strategically to get the most money out of everything.
Right.
Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, I love it. If you and I we were lucky, that we were introduced by somebody who saw the common thread and potential for collaboration.
Hmm.
That doesn't always happen. I have to tell you, this is actually quite rare that somebody
Hmm.
introduces somebody to me and says, you two should talk. Which is surprising, considering the big network that I have. But
Right.
I just wonder, if we hadn't met like this, how do you normally, reach out to people? How do you network? How do you build professional relationships? You've been in four main locations, I assume, the US.
Hmm.
You mentioned Nairobi, Mexico, now in Doha. So you've been also probably in various expat hubs.
Hmm.
How did you, build your circle of friends, for example, there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's multi-layered. Um, so there's the professional aspect of building your network
Hmm.
and your audience, but then there's the personal aspect of developing your community and your own sense of belonging when you move
Hmm.
around so much. So I think it's twofold, and I'll answer the first one first of like building your network
Hmm.
uh, from a professional standpoint. I
Hmm.
think in my ideal world, it would be a beautiful word of mouth business. You know, you get clients from referrals from satisfied clients and things like that. And I think that's perfect and ideal, and I think it's possible to sort of super boost it. A lot of people do, you know, PR work or branding. And that's great if you have the budget for it. Oftentimes it's not there when you're starting out. So basic like easy things that you can do at a low cost, leverage your LinkedIn network and the people that you already know. Pay attention to local things that are going on, conferences, speaking engagements in your industry, and just come with a mindset to serve and add value. A lot of times, a lot of the business that I get has been as a result of offering things at a reduced cost or in a bite-sized chunk. Sometimes people need a taste before they commit. And so it's nice to like provide a little bite size for them to decide and have a good experience. And you win some, you lose some. Um, but that's one way. And then, I say just asking for the meeting. Meet if you read something interesting or you see somebody that, wow, they had a really good idea, reach out to them.
Yeah.
Ask if they are willing to meet. The worst that they can say is no, or that you don't get a response. I mean, you'll live, right? Yeah. And then the cultivating community on a personal level and belonging. I'm glad you brought it up because we were just at a conference a couple of weeks ago, the HR Tech conference, and
Yeah.
that was actually my topic for the panel was how to cultivate community cross-culturally and find your belonging when we're so digitally addicted and maybe you've changed countries. So there's an art and a science to that as well.
I honestly think, Grace, it's becoming so much more important.
Yeah.
Which, is also why we started to have the Global People Club events in person this year. We didn't do that in the past, but I feel like people have such a strong need now for belonging and, having the feeling that they fit in somewhere, in
Mhm.
some space, that the kind of small group experience and, really having like a circle of close people that you can interact with in a friendly way, even if it's professionally based. I think that
Yeah.
becomes a lot more important. And there was something I felt compelled to say about, asking people for meetings. And I'm not sure if you come across that as well as a self-employed person. I mean,
Mhm.
I get a lot of requests for, like these 15-minute calls.
Mhm.
And so sometimes I'm not sure if it's just so that somebody can sell something to me or if they're
Absolutely.
really interested in my expertise.
Mhm.
And then, we always have to remember that you and I, we get paid for the time that we spend on calls, on coaching sessions with clients. And I sometimes find it almost presumptuous of people to
Mhm.
ask me, for a meeting.
Mhm.
And I wish they would just at least offer something in return, before assuming that I will just work for free.
Right, right.
And especially, if they want to have my expertise on a topic, like, looking at something as a global mobility expert or professional, giving advice. I mean, I'm happy to do this also for free, but I
Mhm.
feel like it has become sort of almost assumed, that you would be willing to give your time. Nobody
Mhm.
would go to a doctor, a hairdresser, even, like even a coffee place without,
Mhm.
at least offering to pay.
Right, right.
But for us, like it seems like everybody thinks, well, I can
Yeah.
just ask. Yeah.
So how
So
do you respond? I'm curious. Like, knowing that you feel that way and knowing your time is precious. Like, how
yeah,
have you
yeah,
managed?
it's I'm also learning from other people. So
Uh-huh.
this year I had like almost 200 of those calls.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
monitoring
Yeah.
what I'm doing. And I feel like I shouldn't do it anymore
Uh-huh.
unless, I'm getting paid for it. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm raising the point because sometimes
Mhm.
I also feel like this is a bit of a female problem.
Mhm.
Many men would not have this issue. Either,
Mhm.
because they would ask for payment right away, yeah,
Mhm.
they would have clear boundaries, or, there would not be the assumption that
Right.
they provide a service for free. I think,
Totally.
it's about setting the right boundaries as well. Um, so yeah, I guess I have no like clear answer for that. I think what I'm saying right now is when it's about a proposal or something that they should email me so we can have a look at it as a team before
Right.
deciding whether it's worth having a meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then, for brand partners and collaborations, I've now set up a process on the website. So first of
Mhm.
all, they need to fill a form
Mhm.
before we talk.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah,
good. You
like,
have to vet.
but I'm not sure, I'm not sure if it's the best solution.
Yeah.
But I think, also because I have been in this business now for 15 years, at some stage,
Yeah.
you just need to sort of say, okay, it's enough, people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, these like, can you talk for free? I don't do it anymore. I don't want to do it
Yeah.
anymore. No.
Good. Don't.
Yeah. Well, so networking.
Yeah.
Networking is important. I think we're
Mhm.
both very clear on that, right?
Mhm.
I think it's also a question of how to network. And,
Yeah.
I think also it has to be in a bit of a balance.
Mhm.
So if you feel like the other person, is actually giving any value to you, or, it's a worthy cause to support. Like, there are
Mhm.
people like refugees. Happy to talk to
Mhm.
them for free. But that's a different matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had a shift in my networking approach. I'm an introvert. I don't love small talk. I don't love, if given the choice between going out to a networking event and staying at home with a book, like I would choose the book. But that's not exactly good for business. And I find what shifted for me in networking is instead of coming out at these events of what I can get out of it,
Yeah.
um, go with an attitude of how can I add value here to somebody? And
Yeah.
that felt so much more authentic and aligned, and also took the pressure off of me getting something out of it. I could just go listen and hear people's challenges and see, oh, is this a place that maybe I could offer an insight? But again, that goes back to what your point is. Like, are you offering your services for free in a way that is taking up your time and not really? It could be presumptuous on the other end, but I think it's a fine line and has to feel aligned for you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I also think there's a time for everything, especially when
Yes.
you have your own business. I think there's a
Yeah.
time where you probably will invest and give more. And then
Hmm.
there's a time where you will reap more and expect more from others.
Yeah.
And then there are worthy causes, where it's good to
Right.
work pro bono, but I think it has to be the right cause. Do you
Yes.
see what I mean? Like, happy to take on mentoring program, and I'm happy to mentor students, or I'm always mentoring one or two refugees,
Hmm.
but I'm mentoring them pro bono. But that's a different matter than asking me
Yeah.
for 15 minutes of my expertise
Yes.
without,
Yes.
at least offering to pay for that.
Yes. And for me, it comes in as social justice pricing.
Yeah,
You know, not everybody pays the same,
yeah,
nor should
yeah, yeah. So I just want to encourage everybody who's listening to, to be a bit mindful when networking, that, there are boundaries, but also, that some of us have to live from the
they?
money
Hmm.
that we make. And
Right.
yeah, and that, you're taking away time that we could spend on client calls, for example.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think I don't I just want to tell women not to let themselves abuse so much, because I have a
Yeah, and I
feeling it
think it is.
happens.
Yes, and I think you're absolutely correct. The way we have been raised to serve and consider the needs of other people before our own is a distinctly female experience, I would say. Well, I don't want to say that because I think it's a gift from patriarchy that we need to be aware of and work around.
Yeah, you could say it that way. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's only affecting women. I have a few male clients where I would say it
Yes,
affects them too.
yes,
But I just feel like there's a bit of a pattern. Yeah.
yes.
Awesome. I'm glad we got that out of the way.
I think we're in agreement.
It's like every red couch talk, I have to have some sort of a, moral appeal, or say something that,
Yes,
will, I don't know, make a
yeah,
statement.
yes, yes. The takeaway, the moral of the story. Yes,
So, Grace, tell us what is coming up for you. I mean, do you have any interesting developments, launches? What do you
yeah,
want to talk about?
yeah. Well, I'm toying with the idea of doing a leadership roundtable or panel discussion, and I have like four questions I'm toying with. I'd love to hear from you to see what would be interesting to you, or maybe your listeners will somehow weigh in. Um, So the four questions I'm thinking about, love to hear your take on is, okay, so this is about leadership. How, how to hold poor leaders accountable, how to self-regulate when leadership is lacking, um, leadership horror stories and what we can learn from them, um, what makes a good leader, and what are the organizational failures that contribute to poor leaders being in positions of authority. What's
It
interesting to
all
you?
sounds interesting. And the first thing that comes to my mind is, why do we still have a certain, how would you say that? There's a certain persona we associate with a leader.
Mhm.
And I really think we need to shift the idea of the leader.
Mm,
So I think the first title sounded most like that. There's a lot of discussion about toxic leadership, etc. But I think, the first issue is, when we talk about a leader, what do we all mean by that?
mhm,
And that, how do we, what do we associate with leadership? For some reason, in the last few weeks, I come across a lot of military men.
mm,
I don't know. It is like, sometimes there's like phases in your life. At the moment, I don't know, I have my military phase. And so, I'm wondering, okay, so why am I now listening to this person who has a military career? And what are the reasons why this is so important at the moment? My feeling is because of this constant crisis management, that we've been facing, that the ideal of the leader is going back to this like military officer, who has like an authoritarian style, says it as it is, very straightforward. And this is a backlash, obviously, to the inclusive leader that we had like 2 or 3 years ago, the servant leader. Total opposite idea.
mhm.
And I know a lot of military officers would not categorize themselves in this authoritarian leadership
Mhm.
dogma or idea. No, they would say, I'm a servant leader. Now, it's just
Mhm.
not what is being associated with being in the military, which is already a
Right.
problem. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
already like, why is this now suddenly the trend? I mean,
Mhm.
we probably know why.
Yes.
But I would say, how can we overcome it? Like,
Yeah.
if there is this trend back to authoritarian leadership, what could we do
Mhm.
to break the stereotype?
Yeah.
Have, bring in the leaders that are leading in a different way.
Mhm.
Communitarian leadership, servant leadership. What are the kind of, yeah, what do we actually need as a society?
Yes. And I love that you brought up what do we mean by leadership? Because there's leadership that comes through your position that you may not have earned. And you only have followers because of your position. And then there's the leaders that are leading where they are, whether they have the boosting of their position behind it or not. They're seen by their peers or people in their communities as leaders.
So I think you're onto something there.
Hmm.
Could
Good
be
to
a good
know.
topic. Yeah.
Yes, I hope you'll come.
If you need a military person, I have somebody for you
Okay, okay.
who
Sounds good.
subscribes to the servant leadership ideal.
Oh, good.
Interestingly. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
like also there's a stereotype that probably needs to be broken
Hmm.
and deconstructed.
Hmm. Well, yeah, and I can see where they get that. Like, it's service to your country to be in the military. So, isn't this servant leadership? And I would say, as not having a military background, it's a lot different.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So
And
when would that
also teaching,
when is this going to happen? This event?
yeah, well, I wanted it to be in the new year. I don't think I'll get it off the ground by I mean, it's so Christmas, this whole time period goes so quickly. So I don't know that I'll get it off the ground before then, but hopefully in the new year. Also in the new year, I'll be teaching a well-being masterclass. So
Uh-huh.
stay tuned for that as well.
That sounds all good. And once you know exactly the dates, let
Yeah,
us know. We can always update the show notes, and then, we can also send out a blast to our newsletter readers.
thank you.
Yeah, it would be
Thank you.
great. It would be great to learn more about this. And I might have a few ideas also for, if you want to bring together a
Please,
panel, we can have a
please.
separate chat on that.
Okay.
It's been great talking to you, Grace.
Likewise, Angie, this is fun.
And I look forward to seeing you again, hopefully for real next time.
Yes, wouldn't that be great? I would love to make it back to Europe. I'm supposed to be going back to the US in the spring, but if I can stay and pop to Europe instead, that's my first choice.
Yeah, now we should have a chat. I'm sure
Yes.
there's a
Maybe on your
there are
red couch.
options. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful day. All the best to you.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.